What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Wager Alarm live stream. I'm Howard Bender. With me, of course, Craig Mish. And it's time to start talking National League MLB into the Wager Alarm live stream. I'm Howard Bender. Live stream that we did, Craig and I covered the entire American League, gave a couple of leans, gave some favorites. Well, here you go. Now it's time for the National League. Craig, how are you, man?
I'm very good. I have a special announcement to make before we begin because here at Wager Alarm and Fantasy Alarm, before you guys are not watching, before we come on the air here, and Howard and I and John and Pemba, we're getting into, we're talking about, Top Shot and how, we're not succeeding at getting top shots, and we have a big announcement here on the show that we're working toward getting Howard Bender, the RotoBuzz guy, into sports cards. We're working on it. He used to be a collector. We're working on it. So eventually, what we're going to do is we're going to do a live box break, right, John? We've agreed to that, at least two of us here.
Yeah.
On the show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mail Howard, because I'm going to show him how to do it. I'm going to mail him this box right here. See this, Johnny? You see what it is, right? Okay. I'm going to mail Howard a box of Panini Contenders. He's going to break it live here on the show, and we're going to see how Howard Bender ends up doing breaking his first box. So that's coming soon. A new thing that we'll do here on the show. Okay?
All right. I'm in. I'm all in. Pushing my chips in on that. Let's see what happens. And you know what? If I have some success there, maybe we branch out back to the comic book world where I once was. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
Nevertheless.
Onto the win totals. Here we go. And yeah, we're gonna talk about a lot of clearly different teams. I do have some strong opinions, I think, on some of these. And the interesting part of this year is that we have one of the highest win totals we've ever seen in history with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and we also have the lowest that I've ever seen in history with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I guess we'll see if either of those two teams are ones that you're interested in, Howard. But to me, seeing a total of 57 for a team is just shocking. It's lower than I've ever seen the Orioles the last few years. Have been usually 59 or 58. And for LA, to bet them over, essentially you're banking on them being, as good as any team in baseball has been in the last decade. So that's kind of where we're at the top of the bottom of the NL.
But the sweet spot that you like as far as your bets go, between 72 and 82 wins. Those are the teams that you.
That's usually the direction that I will go. And if you missed our American League live stream, we can kind of recap that real quickly. There's just a lot of variance to me at the top and at the bottom. At the bottom, you're talking about teams 57, 58, 60 wins, and all they really have to do is have one good month essentially and win half their games, and they got a good shot to go over that total. And the team may not even be that good. So I always stay away from the very bottom. And then in terms of the top, I mean, let's say hypothetically LA is fantastic, and let's say, Howard, that San Diego is not. I mean, there's a chance of that. Let's say the Padres aren't as good as everyone thinks they're going to be, and let's say they have the division wrapped up in September. They're resting guys for weeks. It happens all the time. Last week in baseball, second last week in baseball, Dodgers could be at 100 wins, finish 2-8, not go over, and you were on the right side. So I usually stay away from the bottom and the top.
All right. Well, let's go through it team by team. On Monday's last live stream we did, it was we went by division. Today we're going to mix it up a little bit here, Craig, and we're going to go alphabetically.
All right, let's do that.
Because I feel like starting in Arizona, 76.5. It's a team whose win total sits in our wheelhouse. Now it's Padres, Dodgers. They're playing both those teams 18 times. But then they get the Rockies, and that's, obviously pleasant, as well as the Giants. So do you have a lean one way or the other for Arizona?
Yeah, I do lean over. I think that Arizona had a really interesting decision to make in the offseason, looking at San Diego and LA and wondering, should we just kind of, take a step back? They did lose Starling Marte, and they traded him to Miami. Howard, I would love your thoughts on Madison Bumgarner. I don't know that we've seen a decline this quickly from a Hall of Fame pitcher like this, where he just looked like he couldn't throw a single pitch last year. But their offense is still good. They have, clearly to me, with Escobar and Peralta, and hopefully a rebound from Ketel Marte. I really like the organization. I like the way that they do things. They solidified their bullpen with Clippard and Soria. Zach Gallen once again becomes one of my favorite pitchers going into the fantasy season. So I do think that they're being a little bit undervalued here. My only concern would be is if it's not close for them at the break, do they trade a guy like Peralta or somebody else potentially on their team? So my lean on Arizona, and it's not a strong one though, would be the over. I do think that they're a little undervalued, and I like their organization.
Yeah, I mean, I like the organization. I also, though, see it as a rebuild. When you're bringing in a guy like Asdrubal Cabrera, you bring in a guy like Cole Calhoun, you're still dealing with David Peralta. Yeah, I could actually see them trading off pieces, come the deadline. They don't have the horses to compete with the Dodgers or the Padres, and coming in as a potential wild card of third place in the division seems very, very unlikely for that. So, I do worry about that, and that
Okay.
aspect. It's probably a no bet for me, only because I see what you're saying here. Because again, Giants are trash,
Mm-hmm.
Rockies are trash.
Mm-hmm.
Both teams are going to be selling off all their parts come the July 31st deadline. So it could conceivably go either way for Arizona. So I'll avoid that. I do like Zach Gallen. I think even if you're looking at Madison Bumgarner coming back to what, I don't know, even 80% of what he once was. I just don't have the confidence in him. I didn't like what I saw last year either. So I'm kind of down on that, and I'll skip Arizona.
Okay. Yeah, and I think your point is well taken, but again, 36 games against San Francisco and Colorado, 6 more against Pittsburgh. Excuse me, that's 42 games. And they certainly aren't going to beat up on LA and San Diego, but they could finish 500. But you're absolutely right. They could get close to the deadline and make trades, and that could push it under. I'm not looking for them to make the playoffs. I'm just looking for them to have 73 wins going into the last week and go over. And I think there's a chance of that. So it's just a lean for me on that.
I gotcha. The Atlanta Braves, 90 and a half. This one's a different story for me. I mean, it's a tough division. They're facing a lot of tough pitching. The Mets look a lot better than what they once were. The Nationals have outstanding starting pitching. I'm not going to count them out at all either. I'm not even, to me, I look at this division here. I think it's going to be tight, but I think that there's enough talent on the Braves for them to win 91 games, because the number's 90 and a half. I could see them winning the 92, 93 games to really compete. I think that, Washington could fall back a little bit. And so when I look at this division, I think the Braves win this division. I think, they fight it out with the Mets moving towards the end.
Yeah, this is a strange number for me, and I'm with you. I'm over on the Braves, and not to mention that the one thing that they really didn't have during the regular season last year was a horse, a veteran starting pitcher that they thought that could make 25 starts, 30 starts. If you remember last season, it was Michael Soroka and Ian Anderson, and then Kyle Wright at the end of the year among some of their starting pitchers. But remember, Howard, the guy that they signed to really be that guy was Cole Hamels. He didn't even throw a pitch for them last year. So this year, they fixed that, and they have Charlie Morton. I think that's a monster addition and a huge postseason addition. They brought back Will Smith. They have a good bullpen. They have a fantastic offense. And while I do think that the NL East will be very competitive, I think it's going to be competitive around the 500 mark with all of these teams. I don't think you're going to have 4 really good teams in the division. That I don't see.
No. That's right. I'll put it 2, maybe 3, depending on what the Phillies do.
Right, and I'm with you. I'm over on the Braves. And by the way, of all the teams that I think give the most value to win the World Series, I probably think the Braves are that team.
There you go. Go to the north side of Chicago, the Cubbies. The number is 77 and a half. This is a rebuild team here. This is, we keep talking about Chris Bryant, him being in a different location. Javier Baez needs a bounce back. I mean, this outfield is atrocious, right? I mean, from a fantasy perspective, you can find some value there. But Ian Happ, Jock Peterson, Jason Hayward. How is Jason Hayward still a starting outfielder in the major leagues? They've got Hendricks. They've got Arrieta. Okay, it's all right. It's not great. But yeah, I mean, 77 and a half. St. Louis, I think, runs away in this division. It's tough to go under on the 77.5 here, but I might lean that way. I don't know. How about you?
I would lean the same. In fact, I think that this is one that you could bet. I really do look at this, Howard, and I say 77.5 wins feels super low for the Cubs, but they make these numbers for a reason. And what I would say when I look at it is, what did they do in the offseason that gives you confidence that they're going to be better than they were last year? And it was like at the very end of the offseason, they added to Pera yesterday and Jock Peterson who you just mentioned. But Baez was like a shell of himself last year and into the postseason. Is he good? I don't know. Chris Bryant, the second, I mean, nobody even wants him. The second they can move him, they're going to. And Arrieta? No way. I mean, they're starting pitching after Yu Darvish was nothing last year. I mean, Kyle Hendricks was good. I should say Kyle Hendricks was good. I'm under on the Cubs. I think it's going to be a horrible year for them, and it's really sad to say that, because they were just 2 years ago looking like a World Series team again, but they're not now. And yeah, I'm definitely under 77 for sure.
All right, beautiful. Well, then let's keep rolling. Let's go to Cincinnati, 80.5. The offseason for Cincinnati, it was what it was. I mean, it wasn't a great offseason for them. They kind of, stayed put with what they had. Obviously losing Trevor Bauer is a big deal as far as the pitching staff goes. What's your lean on 80.5 wins here?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love your opinion on this team, because I really don't know.
I asked you first this time.
Yeah, I really don't know what to make of them. Did they do anything in the offseason except for get rid of guys?
No, they really didn't. I mean, Sean Doolittle, they brought him in. Yeah, they did not do anything with this team.
Yeah. I'll probably lean under just for the sake of it. I just, when a team shows me that they're not really going for it, I probably have to lean in that direction. Their offense is certainly good. They could have some bounce back seasons, I think, from a few guys. But I don't have a huge opinion on this one, just because they did show a lot in the regular season last year. How much of that was Bauer, I don't know. I'll just probably pass.
Agreed. Colorado, 63.5. Now, here's a team that just, completely wet the bed during the offseason. I mean, Jeff Bridich, their GM, is just, he's trying to sell off everything. I don't see this team being competitive at all. I could see Trevor Story land in a different spot. I could see Charlie Blackmon land in a different spot. I could see Herman Marquez being traded at the July 31st trade deadline there. So, I look at this team. I don't like the total is obviously, it's significantly low there at the 63.5. I don't necessarily know if I would bet this, but this team is like, I would not be surprised to see them win, 58, 59 games.
It's a horrible team, Howard, and I think that I would lean the same way. I'm not sure that San Diego is as good as they're supposed to be, but the Rockies have basically sent out the signal that it may be time to do things differently and try again. And then they've had success over the last decade. Every once in a while, they'll win 90 games 2 years in a row and surprise some people. But when you trade a guy like Arenado, and I understand they got Gomber back in return, but simply put, their pitching is never going to be good enough to win there, and their offense looks like it's taking a little bit of a back seat. It's interesting for fantasy, because we just want to finally see some of these young kids play, and maybe they do have replacements for Trevor Story and for Arenado, with Hampson and Brendan Rodgers and Tapia in the outfield. They have some nice young players, but they just haven't been able to put it all together. And they've basically, to me, sent the signal that they're ready to tear down. If they trade Trevor Story, this is definitely going the other way. Ian Desmond opted out. I don't know that matters hugely, but I'll lean with you on the under there.
Yeah. Okay. Next team up. The Dodgers. Well, here you go. Let's do it. 103.5, Craig. What you said earlier makes complete sense. Could you see them winning 100 games? And then like the tail end, just be like, we're good. We're locked in. We're covered. go 2-8 and blow it. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Obviously it's just too high a number to put a bet on for me.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. The Dodgers could be historically good. We saw this from Houston a few years ago. Their totals were very high. It was 100 at 101. I haven't seen 103. This is like really high. And look, they definitely could get there. They could start off historically great. They have everything they possibly need to pull off a 110 win season, but every team also has the variance of a couple of guys go down and they sit guys, and that could change quickly. I mean, think about this for a minute. The Dodgers win 101 games this year and you lose that bet. I'm out. Sorry, I'll pass.
Yeah, that would be a little on the aggravating side. The Miami Marlins, your Miami Marlins, Craig Mish. In what was it, 2019? They won 57 games, lost 105. You got to throw away last year a little bit. I mean, listen, they played great ball last year. I'm not going to take anything away from what they did. They definitely exceeded expectations. 74.5. What do you think?
Tough one for me. I'll pass it, but it is a tough one because Corey Dickerson, Starling Marte, Miguel Rojas are all on one-year deals. Yeah. And Adam Duvall is sort of a one-year deal too. So what does that tell you? It tells you that if the division is as good as it's cracked up to be, what will the Marlins look like in August and September? They have a lot of young players that they want to play eventually. Their pitching is really good enough to go over this total. I think that's why it's so high, or at least people feel it's, at that number that you just mentioned, 74 and a half. It's high because their pitching is really good. It could be a top 5 staff in all of baseball with Sandy Alcantara and Pablo Lopez. They have really good pitching, but it makes me nervous only what could happen if they fall out of it. So I'll pass, but I always pick how many games the Marlins are going to win every year, and I really have them almost at this number, 75, 76 wins. So okay. I'll pass. My little lean would be toward the over because I think they're going to want to fight. And the other thing, too, is that in this day and age, Howard, those draft picks are so important. So if they don't trade Marte and they don't trade Dickerson, they're going to get a draft pick back in return when they sign somewhere else, if they sign somewhere else. True. So I'll just pass.
Okay. Move on to Milwaukee. Much better, more reasonable situation here. I think. I mean, 83.5. You look at the division. I've got my issues with Milwaukee. I don't understand how this team handles their off season. Sometimes it drives me absolutely insane. But you look at this division and you say, if they're playing 18 games against the Cubs, the Reds, and the Pirates, I kind of like it. Their defense is solid. They've got, they brought in Colton Wong, adds a little bit of speed there. Yelich is obviously, Yelich. Keston Hiura is Keston Hiura and moving to first base. But you've got, Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns. You've got 2 elite relievers in Josh Hader and Devin Williams on this team. 83.5 games. I don't really see it being that difficult for them to do it. They won 89 in 2019. So I'll lean on the over here for Milwaukee with the lousy, Central Division.
Yeah, tough one for me on this one too. Hate to be so vanilla on a couple of these, but Howard, the Brewers to me have to be better offensively. I think Yelich is going to be one of my favorite players going into the season. I mean, last year was just an absolute disaster for him. He was hurt going into the year, and nobody knew it. He just couldn't get right after getting hurt the year before. I like Woodruff. I like Burns. I think they have a couple of really nice young starters and also some on the way. I'll lean over on Milwaukee to finish ahead of Chicago. I think 2 teams finish over 500 in the division, St. Louis and Milwaukee. It's not a strong lean, but the Brewers tend to surprise us every once in a while. Keston Hiura is pretty good.
Yep.
The offense seems solid. They seem like an 83-win team.
I can handle that. I can definitely handle that. Mets, they're getting the same number as the Braves here. I am bullish on the Mets this year. 90.5. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, I'm confident in betting the Braves to go on the over here. I think the number is a lot closer here for the New York Mets. And like you said, this division, I mean, they're going to be beating up on each other and could be 500 ball against each other inside the division. Are they going to, are they going to win the games that they are supposed to win? Do you, do you sweep Colorado? Do you sweep Pittsburgh? Do you really do all of that? I'm really bullish on Lindor coming to the Mets and everything, the excitement, the energy. I think this is one of those cases where I might be betting because of what I want to see as opposed to what I think I'll actually see. So I'll say I'll lean the over.
Yes.
And that's that.
I will do the same. You know why? Howard?
Why?
Because I want to believe.
Yeah.
I want to believe that the last 4, 5, 6 years of the disaster of the Mets going into the season looking good on paper and always falling short, it's going to turn this year. I want to feel that. The Mets just keep giving us reason to believe that it won't, but on paper, you're absolutely right. If they get Syndergaard back and right at some point this season with the pitching that they already have, and adding Frankie Lindor, no doubt. Conforto's very good. Good catcher in McCann, too. They did some nice things. Mm-hmm. I will lean over on the Mets. There's no way my money is going on it, though. I can't do it, but I will lean in that direction.
I love, Lindor is a guy, and I've said this before on the Fantasy Channel. That's a guy who I'm gonna look at this year and wish that I had, him on more of my teams. I just feel like you said, with everything that's been going on with the Mets for the last couple of years, New York is such a place that I think will embrace Lindor, that he'll embrace being in New York. And so I can get caught up in that excitement. So again, yes, I'll lean the over, but probably not bet it. Phillies, on the other hand, 80.5.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually one that I think I would bet, and I actually think that I would lean on the over here.
Yeah, I'm the same with you on this one too. I don't know why we agree so much tonight.
I don't know. That's way too dangerous for me, Craig. It could very well be my misprint Thurman Munson card that's giving us this simpatico energy.
Oh, you got me. All right. So here's why I would bet the Phillies over. I can give you all of the easy reasons, but I think that things went so badly for their bullpen,
mm-hmm.
Okay? So badly for their bullpen that has to equal out this year. It has to be better. It was the worst bullpen, Howard, in the history of baseball for 60 games. Historically. They've added Kinsler. They've added Alvarado from Tampa Bay. They've added some other nice pieces in the back end.
Yeah.
And I think that with them blowing 21 saves in 60 games, if they blow half of those last year, they're an 86-win team. Not to mention their offense is back. I know JT is out right now, but he'll be fine. He's going to play opening day. Hoskins is healthy now. Wasn't healthy all last year. Hoskins and JT Realmuto didn't play the final 2 weeks of the season. They fell apart. I'm with you here. I think they go over. We're going to get to Washington. That'll be the team we'll go under on. But I'm more confident on Philly than I am actually on the Mets. I know it's painful to say, but a really good manager there too in Philadelphia. That gives me a win or two as well.
All right, beautiful. From Philadelphia to Pittsburgh, 57.5. I mean, this is a double A team in the major leagues right now. I mean, I won't bet it, but does the under scare me on this? Not at all. This team sucks.
That's terrible.
I'm sorry, but listen, the product that they're putting on the field is a disgrace. It really is. This is not, listen, I get it. Everybody wants to be all excited about Cabrian Hayes playing the hot corner. That's fine. But who else is on this team? They're still shuffling out Gregory Polanco over in right field. You look at their depth chart, and it's ridiculous. Colin Moran is going to be the savior. He's going to replace Josh Bell. Colin Moran's terrible. Adam Frazier, Hayes, Eric Gonzalez. I mean, there's nothing to like about this.
Reynolds is okay.
And then there's less to like about the pitching staff.
The
Mitch Keller and
good.
then Kakapupu.
I like the closer.
Richard Rodriguez?
I do.
Yes. Well, there you go. You'll get 23 saves out of him because they're going to end up winning like 35 games and 23 are going to be all by 1 run.
That's precisely accurate. It's kind of sad. They tore it all down. They're going to lose 100. So the question is, they could still lose 100 and go over this total. That's how low it is. I'll pass. I'll lean over on Pittsburgh. I'm not going to go under 57.5 on a Major League Baseball team to win less than 30% of their games. I'm not doing it.
Okay, fine. I'm not asking you to. I'll flush that down the toilet.
Who is their ace?
Exactly. Who is it? Mitch Keller.
Who?
Mitch Keller.
Mitch Keller's like their 3. We're missing somebody.
No, we're not. We're not missing anybody. Here you go.
Make me Google this.
Mitch Keller, JT Brubaker, Steven Brault, Chad Kuhl, Tyler Anderson, Cody Ponce, and Will Crow. That's your top 7.
So their opening day starter is
Mitch Keller.
I don't think so.
You know those commercials for Charmin toilet paper where the bear is sitting there in his chair and he's like going like this because he's got the itch? That's what thinking about you know, betting on the Pirates does for me.
Yeah. All right. Bad team.
Horrible. Let's talk Padres. 93.5. Sounds to me like you're leaning on the under. You are not as bullish on them.
I am not. I am usually like the White Sox and the Padres. I definitely feel like teams have a really hard time making huge jumps in sports unless they have Brady at quarterback. So for me, I do think the Padres are going to make the postseason. I don't need to tell everybody they have Yu Darvish, they have Blake Snell, they have Dinelson Lamet, they have Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis. Everyone knows who they have. They did a fantastic job in the offseason. They pushed very hard. But just like I said with the Dodgers, if I bet San Diego to win over and they win 90 games, they go 90-72, I'm going to lose that bet. I'm going to lean under on San Diego. I think they'll be very good. But I don't think they're going to win 100. And I think that's a little bit of a stretch to make that big a jump in one season for them. So I'm going to lean under here for San Diego. Under 93.
I like it. All right. It's a non-bet for me. I'm very bullish on what this team has done. You just don't see that it gelling for this team, and it's interesting. It's very interesting.
I don't like when teams just like get a bunch of guys together and then you just and they may be very good still, but think about that. 90-72, you lose the bet with the Padres.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, and it's the Padres, you know. It's like, I mean, they haven't been that great the last few years. I know they had a good year last year, but I mean, they weren't a World Series team, so.
Are they the Browns of baseball?
No, I think they're gonna be good. They'll be really good, but I think they get too much credit. I don't think Arizona gets enough.
All right. Well, I'm pulling for them because the better the Padres do, the more this Dave Winfield with the slice of the bat that's gonna be worth, right? Come on.
Howard tonight thought that a game-used relic bat card of Dave Winfield was possibly from like the 70s. It's very scary. We have to educate.
He did not think that one bit.
Yes, you did. What did you think it was from? Be honest.
This? Probably from like the late 80s.
No, they didn't even have those in the late 80s.
Well,
they
there
never
you go.
Made
Now I know. It's actually 2001.
Fair enough.
So there it is.
Are those your only 2 cards?
Yeah, probably.
Not for long.
Oh, we'll wait and see what's in the pack. San Francisco, 74.5. Give me the under.
Under again.
They're terrible.
Agreed.
And they're going to trade everybody off.
You know, they were. You remember they were 29-31 last year. I didn't even realize how good they were last year. I'm glad I didn't bet that under in the season last year because I would have lost. But the 60-game season also gave Baltimore 25 wins too. Giants offense is just patchwork basically, and they're relying on Gossman. And I know he's had some decent starts over the course of his career. Cueto's the 2. Bullpen, this guy Montoya, they're going to throw out there with Crick. I don't love their bullpen. I don't love their manager. I think the Giants are not good. I think they go under. I think they go under that, and I think that they're okay with it. I still think they're kind of in rebuilding mode a little bit. It does strike me that they were kind of in on some free agents, but they didn't end up signing any. So it kind of tells me maybe they want to.
I don't really know if they were or not, though. Like, I had a chance to interview Farhan Zaidi a couple of weeks ago. And, we talked about the offseason. It didn't really sound like, like when you're pumping up Tommy LaStella, right? I mean, that to me is just, this is definitely a rebuild. They need to get rid of Longoria. They need to get rid of Brandon Crawford. I mean, Gossman they can get rid of soon. They bring in DeSclafani. Like that's their big pitching free agent that they're going to bring in. Not a fan of this team at all. I don't think they want to win, and I think they'll trade off as many pieces as they can right now. Ugh.
It feels that way. It does. They just have a lot of. And by the way, they wish that they could trade off Cueto and Longoria on some of those. So yeah, I think you're right. And with Farhan Zaidi, I know that Jim likes Farhan Zaidi too. I'm a big fan. I love what he did in L.A. I think he's got the right path with the Giants, but this is not the year for them. I think they win like 70 probably. Sounds about right.
Still under. That's all I care about. I don't care. I think it win 60 games for all I care. It's just not going to be a good situation.
You want to bet that? You want to actually bet that one?
The Giants being under 74.5? Yeah, I would definitely bet that one.
I think I'm ready to bet that one.
I would bet that one. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's go to St. Louis. 85.5. This is another one I want to bet because I'll take the over on St. Louis. I already put down a bet for St. Louis to in a parlay to lead the division by the All-Star break. Doing another draft I did representing Wager Alarm with the Fantasy Sports and Gaming Association. I mean, listen, I love the addition of Nolan Arenado. I think it's a soft division. I don't think they're going to have, many issues offensively putting in runs. I mean, I'm very excited to see Dylan Carlson this year. And then, listen, Jack Flaherty, I got a rebound for him. I don't love the pitching staff, but I love the bullpen. I don't love the starting pitchers. I love the bullpen. Hicks, Miller, Gallegos. Give me Alex Reyes, right? Genesis Cabrera. I think that this is actually a better bullpen than it is a starting 5, and I think that's going to help them win the games.
Yeah, I'm sort of with you here, but I'm going to pass because I think that, I'm still a little worried for the first time ever probably about their pitching. Flaherty wasn't great last year, but I'm with you. I think they win the division. You know what the better bet is? Pick them to win the division -120 or -110. And that's probably the better way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I got it I think I got it at +105 actually.
Yeah, that's about that. That's about right.
Yeah. Final team. Here we go. We've cruised through the National League here. We land on Washington. Spoiler alert, 10 minutes ago, Craig said he's on the under.
Yeah.
Are you feel the same way now here 10 minutes down the road?
No, I'm on the over 10 minutes later. Down.
Holy cow.
It's a shame. I really appreciate them just kind of trying to go for it one more time, signing Schwarber, getting Josh Bell. I don't know if they really thought this through. I got to tell you. I suppose if the DH was in the NL, this made some sense, but Bell is a defender. Schwarber's a poor defender. Robles is great in center, but he's going to have to do a lot of work. Turner's very good. We're still kind of waiting for that next step with him. Keyboom is uncertain as far as replacing Rendon. I don't know that anybody could. They have the best player in Juan Soto that anybody could ever ask for. It's like Trout in LA. It's the same thing for me. He is the Trout of the NL. I may like him more than Acuna, honestly. And their pitching on paper is very good. But Howard, we've seen Scherzer dip a little.
Yep.
and Corbin dip a little. And if one of those guys between the three, and Strasburg didn't pitch last year, so if one of those guys just doesn't like live up to expectations, they don't have many pitchers waiting in the wings. They have this kid Jackson Rutledge eventually who's going to pitch for them and be very good, but don't like Washington. They had that magical year and won the World Series, and then last year they started off poor and they finished poor, and I think the same thing happens this year. So I'm on under. They may finish behind the Marlins for me.
All right. So favorite one right now, is that San Francisco on the under?
Yes.
What about it? Do you like that more than Atlanta on the over?
I like in order, very close between Cubs and Giants under.
Okay.
And then Atlanta over. Those would be the three.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I feel very comfortable putting money on the Cubs under and the Giants under. I think the Cubs 77. Like tell me real quick before we go. How are the Cubs better than the Giants? What makes the Cubs better?
I mean, offensively, I just think that they've got a better team, offensively speaking.
And in your opinion, who are those players?
Chris Bryant likely to be traded. Wilson Contreras behind the plate.
Okay, that's bad. Mm-hmm.
Anthony Rizzo's lost a bunch.
Okay,
I mean,
so let's see. So let's say he's better than anybody San Francisco has, but not by a lot. Okay?
I mean, who's the best player on San Francisco right now?
Well, I guess my point is I don't
Yastrzemski.
see much of a difference. I really don't. I don't think the Cubs hitting is good. Here's the thing. If you told me Javier Baez is who he was 2 years ago, my opinion completely changes. He was either second or third in the MVP. Mm-hmm. But I saw a completely different guy last year, and I'm not sure who he is. So again, I see them more or less as the same sort of team, and we get to a point where we're at the trade deadline. Peterson, 1-year deal. Bryant about to be a free agent. Would they trade Anthony Rizzo? I don't know. You tell me. Would they trade Kyle Hendricks? You telling me they trade any of those guys? How are they losing 100 if they do that? So leans on those two pretty strong, and over on Atlanta. Those are the three.
I like it. All right. We'll be revisiting all of these closer to the season. We'll enjoy a little spring training. Maybe we'll, as spring training goes, we'll take a look at some other prop bets from around MLB, kind of keep you guys interested. But I guess more importantly is check out the AL. Lock down the ones that we like the most here. Bet them if you like and enjoy it. And then save all that bubbly enthusiasm for the next live stream that we do, where apparently I'm breaking a pack, right? Is that what?
A box.
I'm breaking a box.
Let me make sure my screen is right here. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
The glare just kills it, but there it is.
Football cards, man. Football cards. So what do I want the most in there? What do you think?
What do you think, John?
Do I want the Joe Burrow?
Burrow or Herbert? Yeah.
Right? I don't get the Trevor Lawrence in there though, right?
No, not yet. We're
not yet.
No. So I'm gonna mail a few things to you, and we'll do a live break here on the show. Your first break.
I'm so excited. There you go. If it's anything as good as the Thurman Munson misprint card, right? There's $10,000 right here, dude. $10,000.
Good night.
Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. Again, big thanks to Johnny Pemba, our producer. For Craig Mish, Howard Bender. And we'll catch you next time.